You're eating clean, working out, you're doing all the things, but your body's like, nope, that's not your fault. And it's not about trying harder, it's about doing what works for your midlife body. In perimenopause, you need a smarter strategy. You need more muscle, not more cardio. You need nutrition that works with your hormones. You need a focus on physique change, not just the scale. That's exactly what you'll get inside my Lean Physique membership. It's for women who's tried all the diets, tracked all the things, and still aren't seeing the results that they want in midlife. Inside, you'll get strength workouts designed for physique change in perimenopause, nutrition coaching that works with your changing hormones, and you'll get the structure and support that you need to finally change your physique without extreme restriction. And right now, you can get it free for 2 weeks. No strings, just a strategy that actually works. Head to the link in the show notes to grab the free Lean Physique 2-week trial and start building a lean and strong body, even in perimenopause. See you in the membership. Welcome to the Lean and Strong in Perimenopause podcast. This is your host, Courtney Whitten, certified personal trainer and coach. And today we are here talking about why I don't recommend HIIT workouts for perimenopausal women. This is a really important topic because right now HIIT is still really popular even years later, and for a good reason. These workouts will get your heart rate way up. They burn a lot of calories. They are very quick and in and out. You could generally be in and out within 20, 30, maybe 45 minutes. And they are actually very effective. But from a standpoint of losing fat and building muscle, especially in your 40s and beyond, I do not think that HIIT workouts are the most effective way to achieve these goals, especially with our changing hormones. And I'm going to explain exactly why in today's episode. But before we get into all this, I do want to just share a little disclaimer here that I don't think that you should never do HIIT workouts. I actually think that they can be effective. But I also am concerned because there is a lot of gyms, there is a lot of group fitness classes, and businesses that really just create their entire workout program around HIIT. And this is just not a good thing for a lot of reasons, and we're going to be jumping into that today. So I do think that HIIT can be a part of most people's workout program. I just don't think that they should be the main bread and butter, if you will. They really should be more sprinkled in and used sparingly, kind of like as like a condiment. Instead, what we really need to be doing if we want to lose fat, build muscle, improve our body composition over time, yes, even as we get older, the secret sauce is going to be with weight training, heavy weight training, where we are increasing weight loads frequently, we are challenging our muscles, and not only that, we are doing things like being generally active, we're getting adequate movement throughout the day, and we're also watching our calorie intake and calorie output as well. That's really going to be the secret sauce. And I know it's basic and boring, but the basic boring stuff does work. And I do think that a lot of times these boring basic behaviors are really discredited. And a lot of times this is really just marketing. Like there is a lot of bullshit marketing out there that is preying on women, trying to get them to believe that HIIT training is the best way to work out. And I actually think it's probably the worst way to work out. And we're going to be talking about why today. Second disclaimer, I just want to get this out of the way before we get going today. If you enjoy these workouts, if they don't seem to have a negative consequence on you, if you are seeing good results, then by all means, this might not be the episode for you. And I want you to do you. I want you to do what is best for you. So if you disagree with this, then I totally understand because this is not going to resonate with everyone. But I will say that a lot of women, I have women that contact me all the time. Courtney, I'm doing boot camp classes. I'm doing Orange Theory. I'm doing all of these high intensity workouts. I'm sweating a lot. I'm burning a lot of calories. I'm working out 5-6 days a week. I'm eating healthy and I'm not losing weight. My belly fat seems to get more and more out of control as time goes on. I'm dealing with more hunger and cravings, and I'm not seeing any muscle tone either. So this is exactly why I want to talk about this today, because I get so many messages complaining about these symptoms. And yeah, it could very well be the HIIT training. So that is my disclaimer. You do you. And again, this is not going to apply for everyone, but I do want to have this conversation because HIIT training is very popular. And yes, I can see how it can be very, very attractive. You can be in and out in 20, 30 minutes. Those workouts, I've done a lot of them before, and we're going to be talking about that today. They leave you feeling sweaty. They make you feel accomplished. You burn a lot of calories. It is great. It's a good feeling. But unfortunately, there is big cost to this. Before we get going though, I do just want to remember to let you all know I do have one more spot left inside my membership for women Lean Physique. So Lean Physique is all about physique change and perimenopause. So whether you want to lose fat or build muscle or a little bit of both, if you want to improve your body composition, you want to look more toned and lean, yes, even in perimenopause, then this is the membership for you. My membership, Lean Physique, includes science-backed strength building workouts specifically made for women in perimenopause, along with nutrition coaching content. This also includes one-on-one coaching with me. I only have one more spot, and I actually have a free 14-day trial that you can try. So I'm going to go ahead and pop the link to the free 2-week trial for you to check out Lean Physique. Give it a try, get a little bit of coaching from me, and see if it's a good fit for you. So as soon as I fill that spot, I will go ahead and unpublish that link. But it's in the show notes for now, and I would love to chat with you. I'd love to coach with you. And if you want to chat first, we can do that. You can reach out. You can shoot me an email. I will make sure to put my email address in the show notes so you can contact me. We can set up a time to just do a quick call or a quick Zoom session to see if Lean Physique is a good fit for you. So without further ado, we are going to jump into today's episode. We are here talking about why I don't recommend HIIT workouts for women especially over the age of 40 who are perimenopausal. And again, I do think that HIIT training can be fun. It can be very effective. I just think it should be more sprinkled in. I don't think it should be the bread and butter of anyone's workout routine. So first reason why I don't recommend HIIT training for women over 40 is because it's not muscle friendly. In fact, I actually think it could be a muscle killer. So here's the thing that we need to realize is that a lot of us do have competing goals. And I'm talking about the goals of having fat loss and muscle building. Okay. I'm not going to get into a lot of this because we have talked about this a lot on this podcast lately. But generally, most women are going to have a hard time losing fat and building muscle at the same time. It's just two different goals that have different ways to reach those goals. So the other issue here is that we need to realize that doing a lot of these HIIT workouts and cardio heavy workouts may and more than likely is going to break down your muscle tissue. Okay. So we need to realize that cardio is catabolic. So I always think about it as CC, right? Like catabolic and cardio both start with the letter C. Yeah, it can break down your muscle tissue. So yeah, it's great if you want to lose fat, but we need to realize if we are doing this more than strength training, more than likely you're probably going to lose muscle tissue. And this is going to be especially true if you are restricting your calories. And then on the other hand, we have weight training, which is anabolic. It's going to help you build muscle mass. So for most of us women, I would say for most people that want to look more lean, want to look more toned, I would say strength training should be your bread and butter. This should be the main part of your training, and not just any training, but training that is basic. So basic lifts such as squats, pushing movements such as overhead presses and bench press, and pulling movements such as rows and lat pull downs, pull-ups, those types of things. Very, very basic exercises done with good form, just practicing the same lifts over and over and over, and also implementing progressive overload, which is increasing your weight loads, your rep sets, and not only that, just really improving your form, improving range of motion, and increasing time under tension. So these are good ways for you to increase your muscle mass. This is especially important if you are in perimenopause. As early as age 30 or 35, I can't remember which one, it's either 30 or 35, we have a tendency to start to lose muscle. And this is going to be especially true if you're restricting calories a lot or you are not implementing progressive overload and being consistent with weight training. So we just need to realize that if we want to build more muscle, then we need to focus on weight training. And I'm also going to argue here, if you're focused on fat loss, still focus most of your efforts on strength training, because as you lose weight, if you're not careful, you could absolutely lose lose muscle as well. So we just really need to be diligent about this. And this is even with consistent weight training. A lot of times people will lose a little bit of muscle mass as they lose body fat. So no matter what your goal is, just always prioritize that weight training. So just keep in mind that cardio will break down that muscle tissue if done too much. It's not really going to be a big problem if you're sprinkling in the cardio in the HIIT. It shouldn't be too much of a problem, but doing a lot of cardio and HIIT just really is not great for muscle tone. Let's kind of go into a little bit more detail about HIIT. Maybe I should have done this earlier, but just to kind of clarify, HIIT generally is like short bursts of work. So generally it's going to be around 20 to 45 seconds of really intense work. A lot of times these movements will be cardio type moves. So things like high knees, mountain climbers, some kind of plyometrics like jump squats or star jumps, things like that, followed by a short rest period. And here's the other thing I don't like about a lot of HIIT, and I don't even think it's HIIT that I don't like. I don't like the way that some places do HIIT. So what I'm talking about is not letting you adequately rest, okay? Because like really with a HIIT workout, it should be like 20 to 45 seconds on, and then generally you'll have like anywhere from like 10 to like 30 seconds off. But here's the issue, like your rest period should be complete rest. A lot of these places like group fitness classes and boot camps will actually have you do like active recovery where you're doing jumping jacks and things like that in between your sets. So you're not really fully recovering before that next bout. So not good. This is especially not good if there is weight training involved. So I have seen some of these HIIT classes include like some kind of like cardio movements with weight. So I'm thinking like dumbbell snatches, burpees with dumbbells, kettlebell swings. So that's what I'm talking about, kind of like cardio with weights. And those workouts are really fun. But I am going to argue here about combo moves. Let's have a very short conversation about combo moves because this really irks me. And I am someone who used to like combo moves. I'm not going to lie. I've been a HIIT girl before. But they really are not effective, and I'm going to explain why. So, for example, think about a squat, or let's do a lunge with a lateral raise. Okay, so a stationary lunge with a lateral raise at the top. So you lunge down with the weights by your side, and then as you come up to standing, your arms are going to go out to that T position with the arms just slightly forward. Here's the problem with that. Yeah, on paper, it sounds like a good idea, right? Like, hey, I'm hitting a lot of muscle groups at once, so I'm getting my heart rate up. I'm probably going to burn more calories, and I'm working two muscle groups at the same time. I can hit my legs and also my shoulders. But here's the problem. From a muscle building standpoint, no bueno, because you're probably going to be holding on to like 5, 10, maybe 15-pound weights. Like most of us can't like lift super heavy on a lateral raise. So the issue is most of us can do a lot more with our lower body versus something like a lateral raise, which that's a single joint exercise. Most people can't go very heavy. So my point is, if you can do a 25-pound lunge, but you're doing a lunge with 8-pounders for your lateral raise, because you're going to have to match the weight to the weaker muscle group, then you're leaving strength gains on the table. So you would be better off doing a heavy stationary lunge and then resting and then going to a lateral raise. So hopefully that makes sense, but combo moves are just really not the best way to build muscle. I see it all the time. Women are complaining, I'm not building any muscle tone, but then when I look at what they're doing and I'm like, yeah, that's why. The other issue I have with these HIIT classes and HIIT workouts is even if they do include strength training, even if it's like traditional style strength training, so bicep curls, lunges, squats, overhead presses, like I have seen classes do like high training, but with general, just basic weight training, which is totally fine. But here's my argument. They're still not great. They're not great for muscle because these places, they're so like trying to chase that calorie burn that they don't give you enough time to rest. And especially these places that are like 30 or 45 minutes are trying to cram as much exercise into that session as possible. So they skimp on the rest periods. This sucks probably more than anything, in my opinion. As soon as I started resting more and giving myself permission to just fucking sit there, guess what? The gain started gaining. I blamed my lack of muscle tone on age and genetics for fucking years. Here I am, almost 44, and I have more muscle than ever because I let myself rest. And because of that, I'm able to lift heavier. I'm able to get more reps in. So even though it seems counterproductive to just sit there, y'all, like, you have to give yourself adequate rest. I hear this all the time, but Courtney, I'm lifting heavy at these places. No, you're not, because they're only giving you like 15 seconds to rest. Really, you should be resting 1 to 3 minutes in between sets. If you're going really heavy, maybe even more like 4 to 5 minutes. It's totally normal for me to sit there 3 minutes in between sets. I know it sounds counterproductive, and yes, it can make your workout a little bit longer, but it's more effective. It's going to be more effective from a muscle building standpoint. So that's the problem that I have with these high intensity places, even if they do have a resistance training component. One, it's going to be more cardio based. You're going to be doing a lot of things without weight, or you're going to be doing cardio moves with weight. Those things do not build muscle. What does is basic boring lifts, right? And done with intensity, done with progressive overload. So we're making sure that the muscles are being challenged and we are increasing the weight, sets, and reps, time under tension over time, right? Versus doing like these big dynamic movements that are really not going to do a whole lot for your muscle. Yeah, they're going to burn a lot of calories, but they're doing zero for your muscles. The combo moves, just not effective. Like, just do things separately. And then finally, even if it is like a traditional style of resistance training, a lot of times these HIIT studios will have you just rest very, very minimally. And that is going to cause you to lose strength gains. And that is AKA booty gains, strength gains, and muscle gains. Getting that toned look, actually having visible muscle tone. So that's why I do not recommend HIIT to perimenopausal women, because it sucks for building muscle and it's actually a muscle killer. All right, ladies, we're going to move on. We have 3 more to go through. The second reason why I do not recommend HIIT training to perimenopausal women is because it can increase hunger and cravings. Okay, I have a story for you. Listen here. All right, so back in my late 30s, I was teaching a lot of group fitness classes, and I was also doing a lot of HIIT classes. I was working at a boot camp place where I did a lot of their workouts, and I did those style of workouts. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun there, but here was the thing. In my late 30s, and I wasn't even perimenopausal at the time, I wasn't really having any symptoms, so I don't think this is related to perimenopause, but I was experiencing a lot of hunger and cravings, and weight started to creep on very, very slowly. But I started to notice weight starting creeping on, especially around my midsection. I was also starting to experience this wired but tired sensation. So I was really tired, like physically, but in the middle of the night, I would just wake up and I would just be like eyes wide open. This would happen a lot. So I don't even think that had anything to do with perimenopause, because I didn't have any symptoms back then besides that. And I just don't think that was related to that. I think that was actually related to the HIIT workouts. But in addition, we're here talking about hunger and cravings. In addition, it was making me be more hungry. It was making me have more cravings for like highly palatable foods, for like, like fast food type meals and milkshakes and carb rich stuff. So yeah, I started noticing this disconnect that I was more hungry. I was experiencing more cravings. I had this wired but tired feeling, which is probably cortisol surging through my veins. And yeah, the weight started creeping on. And this is exactly when I started doing a lot of research. I started researching women's hormones. I started following people that talk about menopause and perimenopause. It's really been eye opening. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I end up leaving the group fitness world. I left my job at the time that I was working at because I started to realize that these workouts are just not good for muscle tone. They're not good for fat loss. They're definitely not good at weight maintenance. So once I started realizing that, through research and listening to podcasts and reading books and doing certifications, I started to realize that, you know what? I need to go back to my roots and I need to just go back to just weight training and progressive overload and walking and doing more lower intensity type training. So it really was eye opening because I went through it myself. I started noticing, like, hey, this is really not working for me anymore. Just chasing the calorie burn, like, it impacted my body composition negatively because I was under muscled. I was gaining fat because it was causing me to overeat. And not only that, I started falling back into binge eating tendencies. And if you guys have listened to my podcast for a while, I'm not going to share my entire story today, but back in my 20s, this is how my whole journey got started. I was struggling with binge eating. So, and once I finally got past all of that, I had some binge eating tendencies back during my divorce, and then also back in my late 30s when I was teaching all these group classes and doing a lot of HIIT as well. It started making me fall back into binge eating tendencies, and it became like this cycle. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about this later in today's episode. But I was finding myself overeating unintentionally because I was doing all of these high intensity workouts. It was causing me to have hunger and cravings. And if I was having a shit ass day, I would cave into those cravings. I would overeat, and then I would try to fix the problem with more exercise. So it really just kind of kept me stuck into this. But once I started realizing that HIIT really isn't the best way to train, so I just wanted to share that because even as a trainer, I fell for this bullshit marketing, and that's literally what it is. Like, I can't believe it's 2025 and we're still chasing skinny and calorie burn. Like, it's just fucking ridiculous. Like, it's not good to base your entire workout program around these workouts. Like, it's just not. You do not need cardio in between your weight training sets. You don't need to do cardio after every workout or during every workout. Like, these are just, it's misinformation, y'all. Totally fucking misinformation. What we need to be doing instead of like chasing calorie burn is controlling our calories through our nutrition, doing things like portion control, learning moderation and mindful eating practices, eventually maybe doing some macro counting. Y'all, like, we need to stop chasing calorie burn. Like, not only is it like, it's actually fucking impossible. I actually did a story on this today on Instagram talking about how it's literally fucking impossible to try to out exercise your nutrition, because here's the reality. 50% of your calorie burn goes to your resting metabolic rate. This is the amount of energy or calories your body needs in order to carry out essential functions such as breathing, thinking, those types of things. And then we have 30% of our calorie burn each day is going to activities of daily living, non-exercise movement. So things like cooking a meal, brushing your teeth, pacing while you're on the phone, walking to the mailbox. That is 30% of your overall calorie burn every day. And then you have the thermic effect of food, which is digesting food. This is going to take roughly around 10%, maybe a little less, of your overall calorie expenditure just to digest your food. And then finally, there is only about 10%. I've even heard as low as 5, but I believe it's around 10% of your calorie burn is coming from structured exercise. So what does that tell you? So let's think about this. If 30% of your overall calorie burn is coming from non-exercise movement, but only 10% is coming from exercise, what do you think we should focus more on? I don't know. So it's literally fucking impossible to burn it all off. This is why you have friends that bust their ass in the gym. They're going to these HIIT studios and they're struggling with fat loss, is because you just can't out exercise a poor diet. I think we've been saying that for a long time and we all know it's true. Just don't do it. All right. So that is about it as far as it can increase hunger and cravings. So I'm not saying like, this happens to everyone, but I would say most people, especially if they do a lot of cardio, anyone who's like a runner, a long distance runner, probably knows that, right? It can make you hungry. So not everyone, but it is something that I ran into an issue with. And it is probably actually like one of the symptoms I started seeing that made me start to question what I was doing. So, all right. So reason number 3, why I do not recommend HIIT workouts for women over 40 is because of our declining hormones. Okay, so perimenopause is a time of fluctuating hormones. So we have estrogen, we have progesterone, we have testosterone. Generally, those will kind of fluctuate a little bit and then they will nosedive. So this starts to develop symptoms. If we don't have a lot of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, we might have our sex drive might decline. We might not have as much energy, motivation to exercise, to be active. We might have mood issues. We might deal with things like depression or anxiety. Those are very, very common in perimenopause. So our hormones affect the way we feel. So we do not need a stressful physical activity to add to the mix because our bodies are actually more sensitive to stress. So meaning like we just can't handle stress as much as we used to in our younger years. So because of this, high intensity interval training is not the best for perimenopausal women because of our fluctuating hormones, and it can also increase cortisol. So keep in mind here that cortisol is going to increase pretty much with any exercise. So weight training will do it, even lower intensity workouts will bring your cortisol up a little bit. Totally normal. What we need to be concerned about is doing these workouts all the time so that cortisol is constantly getting spiked. And this can lead to things like poor sleep, and that's going to translate to poor recovery. And this is so important, y'all, because if we're not properly recovering, then we're probably not going to feel great. And if we're not feeling great, we're not going to have energy to work out. And even if we do get our ass to the gym, it's probably going to be half-assed. We're not lifting to our potential. So therefore, we are leaving strength gains on the table. It can lead to more cravings. And we just talked about what that can do, more belly fat, right? Kind of get us stuck in like trying to fix it with more exercise. And then it can also lead to fatigue and it can also lead to fatigue and burnout. So I do not recommend HIIT training, at least for the bread and butter of anyone's workout program, because of hormones and also that increase in cortisol. All right, we are down to our very last reason why I don't recommend HIIT training for women over 40, and that is often used to burn calories instead of build strength. And this feeds the exercise to earn food mindset that keeps women stuck in a punishment-based approach to fitness. I am not a fan of this, and I'm going to share one more story with you all because this one really hits home, because this is when I started really getting into disordered eating, disordered exercise patterns. Like being a part of negative gym cultures that are telling you to, come on, give it your all for the last 30 seconds. Let's burn off what you ate last night. Like, this is the type of messaging that is completely fucking toxic and needs to stop. We do not need to earn food with exercise, and we do not need to burn off what we ate over the weekend. That is just complete fucking bullshit. And all this does is just feed this negative loop and also this exercise to earn food mindset. And it's just really toxic and it's just really toxic. This really hits home to me because I was totally obsessed with exercise back in my 20s. So after I was struggling with binge eating, I kind of like went into the opposite direction to where I discovered exercise. I loved exercise. I fell in love with it, but then I started to abuse it. And even though I wasn't completely over my binge eating, I still would have some binge eating tendencies. This really kept me stuck in this cycle of binge eating. And then to try to fix that behavior, I would try to burn it off the next day with extra cardio, a super sweaty HIIT session, whatever the case may be. But the problem here is that, again, like we talked about earlier, doing all of this cardio and all of this exercise can increase your hunger and cravings. So what this did was keep me stuck in this cycle of overindulging and then trying to correct that behavior with extra exercise. And this just kept me like in this all or nothing type cycle. And it's totally toxic. And I don't wish this on anyone because this actually fucked up my life for a while. It fucked up some friendships of mine because I was so obsessed with going to the gym on Friday night instead of hanging out with my friends. I was terrified to go out to eat because I couldn't control the calories 100%. So it did. It fucked up some of my friendships. It fucked up my marriage at the time. It messed up my mental health. There's so many reasons why I want to do everything I can to stop this bullshit of negative gym culture, telling women that they need to do cardio every single session, that if they overate, they can just burn it off. And then on top of all this negative gym culture and all of this negative bullshit talk, people are also not getting results that they want. They're busting their ass. They're checking the boxes. They're doing all the things that these gyms and HIIT studios are telling them to do, but yet they're struggling with cravings. They feel like they're out of control with food. They are gradually gaining weight and they have no muscle. So on top of having disordered exercise and eating behaviors because of this messaging, people are also not getting results, and it really needs to freaking stop. I know from experience, like, these types of workouts do not work. They really only lead to disordered eating and training. That's really the message I just want to bring home today, is that it really doesn't have to be complicated. And I actually think that this is all good news. And here's why. You don't need complicated workouts. You don't need to change your workout every single time you exercise. You sure as hell don't need to do cardio all the time. You don't need to do things that hurt your joints, that leave you breathless and sweaty. Like, you don't need to be doing those things. Again, we need to be walking enough. So making sure that we are getting up throughout the day and not just, going to CrossFit in the morning and then coming home and sitting on our ass all day. We need to make sure that we are up on our feet, being generally active, and making sure that we're getting some steps in. We also need to make sure that we are weight training with progressive overload, increasing those sets, reps, weights, time under tension, and being consistent. And being consistent doesn't necessarily mean 5 weight training workouts a week. Even 2, 3, 4 days a week is consistency. So whatever that means to you, 2 days a week is a great place to start. Okay. And I would actually much rather you shoot for 2 days a week than try to do 5 days a week and feel like, I just can't do it, so I'm not going to do it at all. Right. So even 2 days a week, if you're doing that every week, that is consistency. Okay. And then finally, making sure that we are watching our nutrition. And it doesn't necessarily have to be macro counting. You can do things like start with skills such as mindful eating, moderation. You can do things like learn proper portion control. These things can really be so helpful when it comes to fat loss. All right, ladies, that is it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I just want to remind you, I have one more spot inside Lean Physique, free 14-day trial. I am going to shut that down as soon as I have that spot filled, because this is group, but there's also one-on-one coaching with me. You get private messaging with me, and you also get one coaching session a month with me. In addition, I'm also going to start pivoting toward content around Moderation 365, which is my one-on-one nutrition coaching program for women who want to eat the same on Saturday as they do on Monday. And we do this with mindful eating and moderation practices. So moving forward, the content is going to be more around things like cravings and binge eating and how to lose weight and keep it off without giving up your favorite foods. All right, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I have one quick favor to ask you before I go, and that is, if you're enjoying the show, if you can please write me a 5-star review. It really does mean a lot to me. And not only that, whenever you give me a 5-star review, that pushes my That helps push my podcast out to the algorithm so more women who needs to hear this message can find me. Be sure to leave your 5-star review. And if you want to pop into my private Facebook group for women over 40, you can request to join Lean and Strong in Perimenopause by going to the link in the show notes. All right, ladies, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you, and bye for now.